Good morning everybody. I'm at Navenby in Lincolnshire at the BBRO annual broadleaf weed controlled herbicide site, and it's fully replicated, 4 reps, and I think you could see that we have got a really good spectrum of weeds here, but in particular we've got black bindweed and also knotgrass, and they are actually smothering the untreated plot out here, and you can not easily see the sugar beet, so it's not even going to be harvestable. So you can actually see how important weed control is here up on the Lincolnshire heath. There are 16 treatments in this trial, and the main objectives are: one, to provide a platform for those who are new to sugar beet agronomy to see what individual actives do, their strengths and weaknesses. To look at new actives, there's some new actives in here. We've also got some pre-em options, and also it's useful to look at some commercial programs so that you as growers and agronomists can compare those to what you're seeing in the field. This plot that I'm in has had Fenmedifam only 3 times, a T1, T2 and a T3 application, and I hope you can see that it's done a really good job on the black bindweed. Its strength is that weed, and it is a contact only active. But we're now seeing some fool's parsley showing, which we didn't see in the untreated. You sometimes get that when you get a lot of dominant weeds, that they then suppress some of these other ones. So fool's parsley is now coming through in this plot. And we can also see that some knot grasses have been left behind as well. But overall you can see that Fenmedifam is very strong on black bindweed. This plot has been treated with 3 applications of metametron and 700 grams of active each application. And I'd just like you to see how it differs from when we looked at the straight Fenmedifam plots, and how you can really pick up and notice that the Fenmedifam is very strong on bindweed, yet here where we've used metametron, it's letting that weed come through. This plot contains Fenmedifam, metametron and ethofumizate applied 3 times, which I often talk about as being the 3 building block actives, and then adding in extra actives if we're seeing some weeds coming through. As you can see here, we still have some fool's parsley, there's still some knotgrass, and there's also a little bit of bindweed around as well. I would say this is not a commercially acceptable plot, and that we need to be looking at adding some more actives to those 3 building block actives. This treatment is probably the best one on site, and as you can see, it's cleared up most of the weeds that were present in the other plots that we looked at. So it's done a very good job on the bindweed, the knotgrass, the fool's parsley and a few other minor weeds that are seen on this field. So this one had the first application of Fenmedifam, metametron and ethofumizate, those building block actives, and then we added some Lenasil in at the T2 and the T3 timings, using 0.2 and 0.4 rates of Lenasil. You do need to be careful with that active. I know some people had some experiences that were not favourable last year, and indeed on one of our trial sites we did see some damage. And it's learning, I think relearning, re-educating on how to use this active, as it will become more important to us, I think, as time goes on, as it has been renewed in Europe for the next 15 years, and hopefully the same will happen here in GB. So as you can see, by adding that in at a 0.2 and 0.4 rate, it has given us very good control of all of the weeds that we saw on this site, and at reasonable cost as well. We have got a number of pre-em options in this trial, and I thought I would just show you this one where we used Avadex Factor. It's not yet approved for use in sugar beet. It's in the CRD system. We hope we'll get it soon, as it will be very useful for grass weed control, blackgrass, ryegrass. It does also have some benefit with broadleaf weed control as well. So the plot that we're standing in here had Avadex Factor applied the same day as drilling, and then it's just had only 2 post-emergence treatments. The post-emergence treatments being the standard fenmedifam, ethofumezate and metlamitron. And as you can see, it's done a pretty good job. The weakness is the fool's parsley. So that's something that we would need to consider, and we saw that earlier on where we just used fenmedifam, ethofumezate and metlamitron, that the fool's parsley was coming through. As I said, not yet approved for use in sugar beet, but one to keep an eye on. So that comes to the end of a very quick tour of the trial here at Navenby. Just to say, it was a conventional sugar beet variety that we were using here, and so obviously all conventional chemistry. We've got another site down in Norfolk at Brettenham where the key weed is fat hen amongst some others, and that's on a smart variety, and so that will be worth watching as well in a video that will cover the treatments used there, which were conventional and Conviso 1. Also to say that on all our trials, when we're doing weed work, we include an adjuvant at ½ litre per hectare, and that's a vegetable oil, because yes, in a commercial situation you would be varying rates according to conditions, but when we're setting protocols, it's much easier for those who are doing the spraying to have one rate to operate with. Right, that's the end of our quick whiz through the trial here at Navenby. We will be putting together a publication to cover the results from this trial and the one at Brettenham, and that will be available towards the end of this year or the beginning of 2026. It also leaves me to say a big thank you to the BBRO team, to Jill Champion, who's done all the weed assessments, a very tough task this year, and also to an excellent host here, Mark Ireland. Thank you very much to all of those people.